second race, no matter what the conditions, it's certainly going to be a lot of fun. But let's have a quick look back at some of the best images from race 1.
One of the new exciting parts of our race weekends this season is the appearance of the awesome Corona e-trailer, built in association with Trailer Dynamics. The trailer has an electrically powered axle in the rear, which can help reduce emissions by up to 40%. With the centre of gravity being so
Okay, so
low,
I'm here on the grid with Lissy
output
Reiter.
being
Lissy, you must be loving it here this weekend. What do you make of your first introduction to truck racing?
Now, I'm a crazy girl and I like truck racing. I'm a truck driver also, and this is my life. I like the trucks, I like the people. It's for me a new adventure to be here.
I think it's a new adventure for a lot of us because it's raining here in Italy.
Yes. Yeah, that's the weather. It's not so good, but we are here with a
positive spirit.
Yes.
And what is it that got you into the industry as a truck driver then? Because obviously with the whole one truck family ethos, you know, getting more women into logistics, haulage in general, it's a great thing.
Now, I like the trucks, and I'm a crazy girl, and I'm not a normal girl, no. And I drive a truck in Italy here because I'm Italian, no, and in German and in Austria, and yes, I'm different from the other woman.
What truck is it you drive?
Scania.
Scania. Always a Scania.
Yes, Scania with my trailer. I drive a Frigo.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. yes. Vegetable, meat, and the other thing, yes.
So are you rooting for the Scanias to win today, or is it somebody else that's your favourite?
No, Steffi. Steffi had, but Steffi was unfortunately, and it's not good. No.
Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Right, so we're going to now go on a walk and speak to some drivers and see what we can find. Now, the first person I want to speak to is going to be Sasha Lenz. Now, Sasha always gives a really good interview, to be fair. He does like swearing in English, though, so I have to apologise on his behalf, but he's a very passionate bloke. So we're going to walk down and have a chat with him and see exactly what he thinks, because his qualifying did not go well at all. He really did not have a good session. I think there was some sort of technical issues stopping him from going back out and setting a faster time later in the day, or later in the session, I should say. And to be honest with you, it's just not like them to be starting this low down the grid. He's got this gorgeous Apollo tyres machine this season, looking bright and wonderful in the purple, and we're going to try and see whether we can have a word with him and see what his thoughts are. We're going to bump in. Sorry, everybody. Sasha, my friend, not the ideal qualifying, but a good first race.
Yeah, the qualifying, we have really bad luck. We have a technical problem with the gearbox. I hope that we go in the top 10, yeah, and then I want to switch only in one gang, yeah, but that shit happens, it's motorsport, so the race was good, yeah, the start was on the yellow flag, I can do nothing, yeah, I wait and wait and wait, I say, fucking hell, it's not normal, yeah, and then it was free, I can, a lot of guys overtake, yeah, it's Stefan. He drive a good race. He was a fight with Rodriguez. I was really close behind. I think, okay, when he make no mistake, then let's go, yeah. I am then on the first line. But, yeah, it was a good race.
You've got a lot of Promoters Cup drivers in front of you. Are you hoping for a win then in these slippery conditions?
We will see. When I make a mistake and I go out, then shit happens, yeah. But for sure, I want to win the race, yeah. That's the point that I'm here.
Well, best of luck, Sasha. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Like I say, he gives a good interview. I do apologise for the language, though. But still, he certainly had a very, very good first race of the day. Jane, Violet this season, how are you doing? Are you enjoying it?
I'm doing it, yeah. I'm really enjoying it, yeah. Well, except the rain,
yeah.
But Sasha likes driving in the rain, so keep our fingers crossed, eh?
Well, that's it. I mean,
Could be an advantage for him.
And he's only got the Promoters Cup drivers in front of him as well. None of the sort of fastest drivers in the field, you know, like Norby or having Jochen in front, like we usually see those three all going at each other.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Norby's even dangerous if he's all the way back. But like I said, keep our fingers crossed, guys, and enjoy the race.
Thanks very much, Jane. Jane Bigler is an absolute star of the grid. She is one of the real stars. But we've got so many fantastic people on these grids. It's lovely to see. It really is. And one team that I also want to have a chat with are the guys at Don't Touch Racing, because Andre Kurzim had a fantastic first race of the day and he managed to get himself a podium. Can we barge in, please, guys? I'm sorry.
No worries.
Andre, I mean, you've got a big smile on your face already. You must be so happy after that first race.
Yes, I think the first race was very good for us. The conditions are very difficult at the first race, and I think it will be not better for the second race. And yes, now we will see. Maybe we can do it again, and yes, we will see.
It's all about staying safe in these conditions, isn't it, as a driver, not pushing too hard?
No, I think we have to do very carefully at the moment.
Well, best of luck. Cheers.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, definitely a big challenge ahead of these guys now as they head into a wet race. It's getting wetter and wetter all the time. I mean, it's constantly raining right now. I mean, Notebook's absolutely sodden, to be honest with you. But we're going to welcome in a few moments our TV crowds from all around the world. This year we are not just streaming to YouTube, we're streaming to a bunch of TV channels from all over the world as well, which is fantastic to have. You know, we've got people all over the globe watching us. I'm just trying to think of who else we could really speak to before we do welcome them. But to be honest with you, I want to go back and have a word with Norbert Kish and see what the issue is. And he's all the way at the back of the grid, and then we need to try and get to the front. So I don't want to take myself too far away. We'll go over to Antonio Albacete, because being Spanish, obviously he loves the sunshine. He's got the door closed at the moment. We'll see whether we can have a word. Tim, are we able to have a word with Antonio, or do you want to speak on his behalf?
You ready?
Well, you shouldn't let. It's like you're letting out a caged animal.
Oh, no, I don't want to fog the window up too much.
Oh, fog the window. Antonio, my friend, how are you? You must be very happy after that race.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm very happy for the team, you know, with the new track. So we did a good result. So, yeah, for sure, very, very happy.
And what's your confidence like in the rain? I mean, you've been around the block a few times. Surely you know it by now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hope we have a good pace in the rain, you know. I think this morning we were quite good in the wet, so I hope. But, of course, I mean, Kiss is going to be very, very fast on the wet, so he will come like a rocket from behind, and let's hope that there is not any big mess in the front, you know. So let's hope that we have a clear race and take some points.
Best of luck. Cheers.
Thank you.
And we'll have a quick word with Tim as well, mate. I mean, you must be overjoyed just like Antonio is. You know, great points for the team at the start of the season. It's exactly what you want with the new truck.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It was a lot of work in the winter, especially for like me and Tom.
Yeah.
So we built this truck from the ground up. The first test in Czech a few weeks ago, we were really like surprised how quick out the box it was, and to sort of bring that here as well. Okay, some of the trucks had a lot of bad luck, but it was a really strange weather condition in quali. So we were P2, P6, P2, P6, and then in the end it just worked out where it worked out. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
It was a really strange session there, wasn't it? Because of how quickly the circuit dried out. You had some of the Promoters' Cup guys going straight to the top of the pile and beating everybody by like a second. It was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And also, like, in our last lap, we were Sector 1 green, Sector 2 green. So we were, like, ready to go P2 again. Yeah. And it started raining in the last two corners. Oh. And then we lost, like, half a second. So then we just stayed where we were, so...
As is motorsport, mate, as is. Well, best of luck for this one, though, because it's going to be a belter, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, yeah, 100%. And on a serious note, Antonio...
We love you, Tim. Nice one. Tim's like, you're right there, Alice. Tim's an absolute star. The whole team is. They really, really are. They're such a great bunch of people. And like I say, that's what this grid is full of. Just wonderful people that we get to talk to all of the time and just see, you know, everyone's thoughts on what the conditions are going to be like. There's some drivers that love it in the rain, some drivers that can't stand it. I'm British, so I'm used to standing in the rain, so this is a fine scenario for me right now. But I must say, though, that we are going to now welcome our TV viewers from all around the world. We're going to have them with us in just a moment's time. They're going to be all around with us. But what we're going to be doing, if I actually look at what I'm supposed to be doing, is going to the front, and we're going to actually go and have a chat now with our pole sitter for the day. Wait, no. Changing. Okay, hello everybody, welcome to the Misano the first race meeting here at Misano, the second race of the day in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. I was just getting news there from my colleague Dominic that Steffi Howe will not be competing in this race, unfortunately. She had an engine failure early on, but now we have with us all of our TV viewers from around the world. Rather than just on YouTube and live streaming this year, we're covering TV broadcasting as well. There's a band back there that's just kicked off, which is certainly an interesting development. We'll have a quick look, shall we, and just see what they're all doing. They were actually on the grid last year when we were doing some of the installation laps at the beginning of the weekend. This is the typical Italian flamboyance, the entertainment that we come to expect. It's always a party here in Italy when the European Truck Racing Championship comes to town. Do things differently here in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. It's certainly very entertaining, isn't it? Very, very entertaining indeed. Well, this is part of the fun, everybody. We're going to make our way back towards the front of the grid. We're going to see whether we can speak to our pole sitter for this race, which is going to be Jonathan Andre. The Frenchman had a really strong race there, actually, finishing third in the Promoters' Cup in that race. And to be fair, they've wanted podiums from that category since they first entered the championship. Again, obviously after the tragic passing of Anthony Janiak, it's been wonderful to see Jonathan Andre get quicker and quicker with the truck as time has gone on. So we're going to make our way up to the front, have a quick chat with him, and then what we're going to have to do is get on with things, because we're going to have the Ford F-Max truck, which does make its way around the circuit on its own with like an inspection lap. That's going to get going. I'm then going to give you a wonderful insight into something that we've got going on at the circuit this weekend and that will be with us for the rest of the championship. And then eventually I'm going to actually run up to my commentary box and crack on with things. So we'll see whether we can have a chat with Lion Truck Racing's Jonathan Andre beforehand. I can't remember, I'll be honest with you now, cannot remember whether he learned much English since the last time we interviewed him, but I think he did. So we'll have to risk it. If not, we'll go and speak to John Newell. He's on the front row of the grid. Can we have a word with Jonathan, guys? Jonathan, how are you? You must be pretty happy to be at the front of the grid for this one.
Yes, I'm very happy. When we come here, it's just to participate and to make tests, and we are fast, and we are very, very happy about it.
And what are your thoughts racing in the wet? Because it's going to be pretty tricky out there, isn't it?
I feel good in the wet. This morning in free practice, I was 7th and 5th position, and I feel better than in normal conditions.
Well, I really hope it goes well for you, mate.
Thank you. I hope to have a good result.
Now, I've realised I've made a colossal error here, everybody, because we are going to go the other side of this truck. I just said Jonathan Andre's on pole position. He isn't, because the inside line is pole position here at Misano, and I've gone the wrong way about this completely. Now, they know I'm coming. John doesn't know. John doesn't know, does he? Here he is. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm not too bad, mate. Front of the grid, reverse grid, wet race, Misano, these lot. It's quite a party here in Misano, isn't it? It's a lot going on.
It sounds like it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
Your first race went quite well, considering that qualifying wasn't the sort of story that you were hoping for, was it?
No, qualifying was terrible. We've done a few improvements to the truck, and it sent us backwards. So we've altered it slightly, which has got it a little bit better. And we're hoping that more changes over the weekend will put us back to normal. So hopefully the finish from race 1 were great, really. So we got up to 8. So we can't grumble on pole for the second race. We'll just see how it goes.
Well, I tell you what, it's certainly going to be interesting. But one of the things to think about is obviously can't hear anything. Can't hear a thing. Trying to get the truck set up for the wet is never an easy thing, is it? Because you don't get as much running time in the wet as you would in the dry, even if we are from the UK.
No, but we've had a fair bit of running time here this weekend in wet, so we've got half an idea of what we're doing. Fingers crossed.
Half an idea will do me, John. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Josh.
Smashing stuff. So, John Newell starts from pole position then for the second race of the day. We have a lot of exciting things going on. The Ford F-Max is on its way around the circuit now, but I really want to show you something exciting that's making its way around the circuit at all of our events this year. Krona, the trailer supplier, are bringing some amazing e-trailers to the championship this year, and they're doing something called the Record Run. I had a look at it earlier on in the weekend, and I'll give you a brief idea of how they're going about things.
One of the new exciting parts of our race weekends this season is the appearance of the awesome Krona e-trailer, built in association with Trailer Dynamics. The trailer has an electrically powered axle in the rear, which can help reduce emissions by up to 40%. With the centre of gravity being so low and the peak power output being nearly 800 horsepower, Krona are taking it to some of Europe's finest racing circuits, hand in hand with the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, to show us what it can do in their Mission Record Run. The idea is to set as many lap records with a trailer around Europe as possible, and we welcome this amazing concept as part of the spectacle. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Dre got up here now in the commentary box, slightly out of breath, but I did have to absolutely leg it up here. So give me a moment. We'll get the F-Max official truck completing its lap just now, and then we'll run you through the grid as the field starts its formation lap. Here's a quick look at the circuit itself as well, which the Ford F-Max has just done its inspection lap of, just to make sure there's nothing untoward on the circuit, no debris, no gravel that's been dragged out, and nothing that will stop the race going ahead safely. So we've got 16 corners here at Misano on what is a very technical and twisty circuit. A chicane to start the lap, with a hairpin going into basically what they call an acceleration chicane that gets quicker on the way out of Curva del Rio, and then they go all the way down to Curva Quercia, which is turn 8 in the middle of the circuit, back up the hill to turns 9 and 10 at Tramonte, Curvone, and then down to Curva Caro at the bottom. It is a very, very difficult circuit, this place, especially when it comes to racing in the rain. It's not going to be an easy feat, this. Apologies for getting the grid mixed up, by the way. For some reason, I saw Jonathan Andre in front of the grid, and I just assumed that it was on the left-hand side, but clearly not. It's going to be on the inside for John Newell this time. I was too excited by the idea of doing a grid walk, in all honesty. It's a lifelong dream of mine to do a grid walk, so hopefully it wasn't a disappointing one. I certainly enjoyed it. It was good to speak to some drivers. And we hope, of course, that you enjoy the broadcast. Excuse me. So, our Iveco S-Way pace truck leads the field away. This thing is a wonderful looking bit of kit. I'm sure you'll agree. The interior as well is absolutely stunning. And it's powered by Bio-LNG. It's got these humongous Bio-LNG tanks on the side of it as well. The emissions from this truck are very, very minimal in comparison to its diesel counterparts. The only trade-off, really, that we've ever seen is a slight loss of torque. But to be honest with you, the Ivecos in this range for the S-Ways have so much torque anyway that you will not notice a difference. It is a great bit of kit. And Frank, our lovely pace truck driver, really knows how to put this thing through its paces as well. I was fortunate enough at the end of the 2021 season to have a go around here in the S-Way with Frank. I was passenger, of course. No one would be daft enough to trust me to drive one of these things, flipping out. But Frank really does know how to throw this vehicle around and get the most out of it. And of course, show the capabilities. Here's your grid then. John Newell starts on pole position in the first weekend of his full campaign here in 2023, alongside Jonathan Andre. Next row is going to be Stefan Fass and his countryman Sascha Lenz. Sascha racing, of course, for Apollo Tyres SL Truck Sport this season in the big purple machine, and he is going to be a real star to keep an eye on here. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez lines up alongside Andre Kurzim on row 3. Kurzim very happy with that podium, of course. Antonio Albertetti as well, finishing second in that race, starts 7th, and Jochen Hahn, race 1 winner, will start from 8th. Behind them, in 9th place, we have Heinrich Clemens Hecker and Louis Requenco. Those two were very close to each other across the line in race 1. Hopefully that battle continues. And then we have Steffi Halm, who will not be in this race, unfortunately, we've been told. So Norbert Kish will line up on the row on his own, on row 6. And then behind them, at the back of the grid, will be Mark Taylor. We didn't quite find out what the issue was for Mark, but I believe it may have been communicated at some point. It was a gearbox, basically. That was the problem with Steffi's truck. They had to have the engine removed, gearbox changed, and the engine went back in. And they are still working on it, unfortunately. They might try to get out into the pit lane when the formation lap is complete, which we're on now. So we'll have to wait and see whether Steffi can make her way out into the race. It'd be great to see her out there. As we saw, she's very well supported this weekend by Lissi Reiterer. It was great to speak to Lissi, and fair play to Lissi as well, because we obviously discussed the interview beforehand, and she was worried that her English wasn't good enough for an interview, and she was having second thoughts, but she went ahead with it, and she did a great job. I'm sure you'll agree. It was fantastic to speak to her. She's very well known as well across all of Italy and Germany and Austria. But right now, it is time for some racing action. A lot more standing water on the circuit here as well for this second race of the day. Starting a lot later on in the evening than we have done in the past, which is quite an interesting factor here, but it's not been the brightest and sunniest of days. And to be fair, at this time of year anyway, the sun doesn't really set until about 9:30 here in eastern Italy. So John Newell and Jonathan Andre, a very interesting front row here. Plenty could happen for both of these drivers. They are both very well experienced in their own machines. But these conditions can throw up a massive curveball. Into the pits then comes the Iveco S-Way pace truck. And you can see all of the LEDs ablaze on these machines. We are going to get a yellow flag start once again. But officially, round 2 of the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship is underway. And John Newell will lead the field away now, with Jonathan Andre slotting in behind him. Stefan Fass will move into 3rd position. And then Sascha Lenz next up. You can see already Andre Kurzim moves over to the middle of the circuit. But the situation is now similar to what Sascha Lenz was describing to us before. He said that he couldn't do anything. He had to wait and wait and be very patient with the drivers in front of him. And then was finally able to get going once the green flags came out. And he's going to have the same situation here, I believe, because they are allowed to go at full race pace. There is just no overtaking permitted at this point. So just to make sure that everything is safe, the trucks are able to continue. And there is Steffi Halm in the paddock, unfortunately not taking part in the race, which is a real shame to see. And Steffi will be very frustrated at the situation. There is the engine that was ripped out from earlier on. Massive unit of an engine, isn't it? They're between 12 to 13 litre 6-cylinder single turbo engines in our championship, and a lot of truck racing they're a similar size but not always the same spec and same performance. They're over 1,200 horsepower in some cases and incredible torque figures. We're talking over 5,500 foot-pounds of torque in most cases. These things really could just move the earth the other way if you put your foot down hard enough. There's a lot of them, as you see there, coming out of turn 8 with a lot of spray being kicked up, but you can see the definite line that they are all running. Sometimes some of them running a little bit wider on the way into the corner, just to make sure that they can get that extra bit of grip in any grooves that they have on the tyres, just to really dissipate the water. And regardless of whether the race is going on or not, Steffi Halm's team will be working as hard as possible and as quickly as possible to make sure that the truck is ready for the next session, which will be, of course, tomorrow morning when we have qualifying. Qualifying 2 will go ahead and be live streamed as well. And then we will obviously have races 3 and 4 of the weekend to round things out. I can't believe already that we're in race 2, but here we are. So there should be a green flag waiting for the drivers at the end of this lap, but we may get another yellow flag lap as well, just to keep things as safe as possible. But you can see behind Jonathan Andre right now, Stefan Faas is lined up and waiting to go. Sasha Lenz also hoping for a bit of a slingshot behind the pair of them. And there you can see Jochen Hahn right behind Antonio Albacete, and Antonio alluded to it himself. He knows that Norbert is going to fly through from the back of the field. I can tell you the green flag is out, and we are underway for full race pace and overtaking now. Green flag racing here in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship is underway, and into turn 1. John Newell taking it nice and tentative. He had quite the gap out of the final corner, but took it easy on the brakes. He mentioned earlier that during qualifying, the truck was not behaving itself on the brakes, and he kept snatching the inside wheel and locking up the front right. So he needs to take it easy wherever he can here on the brakes and not overdo it in the first couple of laps. Just get used to how it's behaving, then start to throw it around a bit more, and maybe just take a little bit more risk. You've got the chance to win a race here at this point of the championship, and this is where the drivers really need to take advantage of that in these reverse grid races. But it looks like Norbert Kish has got past Louis Requenco and Heinrich Clemens Hecker already and moved up into 9th place. He has, yes, he's gained 2 spots already as Norbert Kish, so he's on the move here. And Jonathan Andre is trying to block the move from Stefan Faas. Now, let's not forget that there's the Promoters' Cup to think about here. Newell, Andre, and Faas all going for the lead in the Promoters' Cup, which is for the drivers that are in the Chrome rating category. So there's Titan and Chrome. Think of it as Pro-Am, if you will. As up there, immediately Requenco goes a bit deep into turn 8. Mark Taylor boots it and gives it a welly full on the exit. You would need wellies in these conditions, to be honest, or skis might be a little bit better. But the interesting thing is that it's not raining that hard outside. It's barely even raining at all now. It's just spitting, as we say in the UK. But the amount of standing water, because there's not been trucks circulating for a while, it has just built up and built up over time here. As down the inside there, Sasha Lenz on Stefan Faas. He was saying earlier that he couldn't quite get it done during the well, sorry, it was Rodriguez he couldn't overtake earlier, wasn't it? He got it done during the race. He said Stefan ran a very good race, but he's not defended enough at the moment. As Jochen Hahn looking down the inside of Antonio Albacete. He knows he's got Norbert Kish right behind him now, though. That's the sort of the balance of the blessing and the curse of the reverse grid races, is that you may win the first race of the day, but then you get thrown way further down the order. And if anybody's had a poor race, they're in a similar starting position to you, with just a couple of positions between you and the back of the field. Now, they get less points in the 2nd and 4th races of the weekend. I believe you get 10, and it just goes down by 1 point per position. So you get 10 for winning, and it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 10. John Newell under attack here from Jonathan Andre. It's quite funny, actually. Those bronze wheels on the front of Jonathan Andre's truck. I saw a mechanic in no sort of team wear or anything. He was just wearing a black hoodie earlier on, wheeling a bright bronze wheel down the paddock, and I knew exactly whose truck it belonged to, because Jonathan Andre's team, Lion Truck Racing, the only ones that have those coloured wheels on the grid, and only on the front of the truck as well. But John Newell, he's not really holding these guys up at the moment. He's just doing what he can, but they're sort of piling in behind him. Look, you can see him kicking the back end out. There's a puddle on the inside there at turn 5. Very, very big puddle indeed. And out of turn 6 they go. Sasha Lenz looks like he's got a really good run, actually. There's quite the train behind Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Andre Kurzim. That's Antonio Albacete ahead of Jochen Hahn and then Norbert Kish. But here comes Sasha Lenz down the inside. He's got a great opportunity to take a race victory here. No disrespect to those drivers around him, but it just gives him a really good chance, this reverse grid. Norbert Kish throws it up the inside of Jochen Hahn into turn 8. Manages to get it stopped. Jochen gives him a bit of, let's call it, encouragement on the exit of the corner, just to say, come on, you've got past now, get on with it. Give it a bootful, get on the exit. Jonathan Andre looked like he was taking a little look down the inside there, actually, on Sasha Lenz to try and get his 2nd place back. But the point I was making is that Sasha's got a definite chance to win a race here and to make up for the issues that they had in qualifying. He's opened up a bit of a gap back to Jonathan Andre as well. And would you look at that, Norbert Kish already on the move past Antonio Albacete, and Antonio said he's going to come past here like a rocket. I think there might have even been a little bit of contact between the two of them there as they came down towards Curvone through this right-hander. They'll still be doing 100 miles an hour as they go through the right-hander before the hard braking zone here at the end of the lap, which is Curva del Carro. And they all concertinas through here. You've got to be so careful not to just hit the back of the truck in front of you. We saw, I believe it was Shane Brereton getting turned around here last season in the season opener. We've had a black and white flag for truck 66, which was in second place before, Jonathan Andre. We've also had the number 24, Stefan Fast, getting a black and white flag. Sasha Lenz now tucked right up behind John Newell. The two of them very good friends as well in the paddock. The teams do a lot of work together. John has been teaching Sasha English, which probably explains why he swears so much. But right now, the two of them are locked in battle for the race lead here at Misano. The swimming pool of Misano as it is right now. There's so much standing water, but the drivers are braving it out and giving it everything. As you can see, the fans trackside absolutely loving it as well. Really enjoying themselves. Filming whatever they can. It's honestly such a spectacle as truck racing. If you haven't seen it before, I really can just never encourage you enough to come and see it. It's great, great fun. Norbert Kish now has got past Andre Kurzim and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. How on earth has he done that? Sasha Lenz goes around the outside at turn 6 on John Newell as well, and he takes the race lead. He got a fantastic switch back there through turn 5. John was a little bit offline, and just being that tiny bit offline in these sorts of conditions can be nightmarish. It can make the truck feel horrible. Jonathan Andre looking down the inside. He's going to go late on the brakes. Hopefully not too late on the brakes. There's a big send. There's a bit of contact. And John Newell is pushed out wide. Stefan Fast gets involved in it now as well. John's gone from first to fourth in a couple of corners. Bit of contact there as well between Andre Kurzim, ironically, in the Don't Touch Racing machine with Jose Eduardo Rodriguez next to him. I think I finally sussed out Jose's name, to be honest with you. Look at this now. Stefan Fast trying to get a cutback on Jonathan Andre. Now John Newell watching his mirrors because reigning champion and three-time champion Norbert Kish is right there ready for him. Jonathan Andre's had a poor exit out the corner and they're 3 wide down the back straight. John Newell's just in front of the 2 behind him. I think Norbert Kish is going to put his nose down the inside into there. And I think there might have been a little bit of a touch. We'll have to wait and see whether they both came out of the other side of the corner. To be honest with you, yes, they did. I think Norby played the wise card there and backed out of that one. Now he sends it down the inside into the right-hander just before Curva del Carro. But it's Sasha Lenz leading this race. And then in second place, Stefan Fast. There he is in the Tank Pool 24 Racing Scania. The whole field so close together. This is often the case in these reverse grid races. We get a big train of these machines all glued to each other, waiting for the one in front to make a mistake. As they come roaring past the commentary box here, sounding amazing. Really shakes all the glass, shaking my laptop in the commentary box as well. There's a water bottle that looks like that sort of scene out of Jurassic Park when the T-Rex starts walking along and there's just ripples in it. It's just a fantastic experience. They are rolling thunderstorms, these trucks. And once again, we get ourselves with John Newell and Jonathan Andre locked in battle again. These two having a go at each other once more. As Norbert Kish now has a go down the inside of Stefan Fast. Sends it into turn 4, has to try and careful to tuck it into the exit. It's so tight around there. I think there might have been a little bit of a touch there from the front of the Scania onto the back of the MAN, but look at Norbert Kish go. There's an incident involving truck number 3 and number 18, which surprises me. Sasha Lenz and John Newell. That may have been a little bit of contact as they came out of turns 4 and 5, so maybe we didn't quite see the touch, but we maybe just saw the result of it. Maybe the camera angle didn't quite give it away. But Norbert Kish already on lap 5, because the graphic at the top left tells us how many laps we've completed. On lap 5, he's already up into second position from 11th on the grid. That is, I mean, if there's anything to describe Norbert Kish in terms of a race performance, it's this. Wet conditions in a very, very tricky circuit like this that's so hard to overtake at. I mean, regardless of the amount of overtaking we've seen, it's so difficult to get past somebody around here. It's so tricky because of how narrow it is and how stop-start a lot of the different sections are. Here is the move down the inside of Stefan Fast. You can see they're both trying to tuck it so much to the apex, but it's so easy to overdo it there. All the steam coming off the trucks as well as they cool down their brakes with water. Not that they'll have a shortage of water in this race, to be honest with you. But you can see just how gloomy it is around here at Misano at the moment. Very different conditions to what we're used to. I think here last year, the average temperature was about 35 degrees Celsius. As Sasha Lenz overdoes it slightly in Curva del Carro. And Norbert Kish is already within 2 seconds of him, I'd say. It was 1.192 last time they hit any of the timing beams. I'll have to see what it's like when they go over the line. for the final sector, because Sasha Lenz has got more than half of this race to hang on for as Jonathan Andre looks down the inside of John Newell. Andre Kurzim's a little bit wide and runs onto the wet line. Antonio Albertetti gets a good run. Look at these 5 all together. It looks amazing outside my window, I can tell you that. It looks great on the live stream as well. Through turns 1 and 2, the drivers that had so many epic battles in 2021 and in 2022, Sasha Lenz and Norbert Kish going head-to-head once again. It's amazing, actually, because in the first race of 2021, my first race commentating on this championship, Sasha Lenz won the race because Norbert Kish had I think it was a boost pipe failure at the Hungaroring in the very first race. Now the two of them are locking horns once again 2 years later in the first race meeting of the season. Stefan Fass is looking really good at the moment in 3rd place outright and leading the Promoters' Cup. He's going to be very pleased with that for now, as here comes the move potentially from Norbert Kish. All of a sudden the standing water seems to have disappeared, and so too does Norbert Kish. All of a sudden he's there, all of a sudden he's down the inside. He's going to try and avoid contact. Like I said before, it's so easy to let it run out wide, but look at the way that Baloo, their reverse racing truck, gets off the corner. The thing just disappears up the road. They've got this thing so well figured out, and the wet setup is clearly working for them here. And like Chaba Bacco said earlier on in the day, Norby is so good with this information. He can translate it really well. He spends a lot of time in the simulator as well, does Norby. We both share a passion for sim racing, and that's where he does a lot of the learning and sort of understanding of how the trucks will behave, because the simulations are so accurate these days. And Norby now has just got the knack of this, hasn't he? This truck and him are just so in sync. It's unbelievable. You know, him and the team as well. Everybody works together as such a well-oiled machine. He now leads the race, definitely making up for the misfortune in race 1 already. Now we have to see whether he can get away from Sasha Lenz and continue to open up that gap. There is John Newell, 4th place at the moment. Stefan Fass just up the road from him. He's got Jonathan Andre and then Andre Kurzim behind him. So he's still got a little bit of a buffer, at least, to Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albertetti, who just haven't been able to make the progress, I should say, forward that Norbert Kish has. Norby just goes past the commentary box now. There's a bit of damage to the back of Andre Kurzim's machine, which we'll have to try and keep an eye on. Jochen Hahn has actually lost a bit of the front right there as well. The bodywork's gone away, so that says guilty, Your Honour, to me. Antonio Albertetti is behind, trying to take advantage of that. And just behind them is Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and then Heinrich Clementeca. Now, I don't know what Heinrich Clementeca has done to the LEDs in the front of his truck, but they seem to be the brightest LEDs in the paddock every single time we see his truck. These things don't have headlights, of course, low down where the trucks would normally have them. Even on the Iveco, they're just stickers, because they would obviously smash and there would be either glass or plastic, sharp plastic everywhere, and it's just not safe to have. And if they do need the headlights, obviously they would break them very, very easily. So they have these LED strips mounted very high and wide in the windscreen, so they at least do light up the surface ahead of them, and they of course alert other drivers to their presence in the rear view mirror. They're not subtle at all. They may look a little bit subtle on the live stream here, on the pictures that you see. They are not that subtle at all. Neither is Jonathan Andre's truck, who's trying to send it down the inside of John Newell. John parks it on the apex and says, "No thank you, sunshine, you are not making your way down here." He doesn't want to give up another spot in the Promoters' Cup. Andre Kurzim waiting in the wings as well. Jochen Hahn's dropped back a little bit there. I'm not sure if the damage has potentially affected his confidence around here at the moment. The aero on the front of these trucks makes a difference, but not a colossal difference. You know, it doesn't really define the trucks exactly. They're not exactly the most aerodynamic things in the world, are they? But it still does go some way towards helping the cooling and helping the behavior of the front end. You know, if you can guide whatever air you can over the front, even if it saves you a couple of hundredths of a second a lap, it's worth doing as a racing driver. We've seen such gaps in this championship before, beside pole positions and qualifying sessions, even super poles, of course. And then you never know how that can affect your race. If it puts you on the inside line or the outside line for turn 1, helps you avoid an incident. There's so many knock-on factors from a qualifying session that people just don't consider sometimes, as there's a knock-on effect as Jochen Hahn goes down the inside of Andre Kurzim but holds himself up on the apex of the corner. Antonio Albertetti might want a piece of that as well. No, he's not got in front yet, but he's keeping a good truck's length between himself and Jochen. As Jonathan Andre looks down the inside of Newell, then backs out of it, then goes into the back of him. Andre Kurzim wants a piece of this as well. He's around sideways again. Wow, oh wow, big save by Andre Kurzim. He got very excited and really went for it there. Jochen Hahn goes one way, then the other, And is he going to get 2 for 1 here? He goes down the inside of Jonathan Andre, doesn't go for the move in the end. He backs out of it, plays it safe. Andre Curzim's now on the outside, then going to go to the inside of Antonio Albacete. Tony's his son. Racing in the Copa Saxo 8 valve again this year, I believe. It's a very fun championship in Spain. Once we're finished here, I recommend you go and search that. It's a good laugh. But still, the two of them together, Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete, making their way through this group. And now onto the back of Jonathan Andre. You can see again the steam flying up into the air off the back of these trucks. That's coming from the water that gets sprayed onto the brakes to cool them down. The brakes often stay at a decent temperature of around 450 degrees. That's their sort of operating temperature that they would like to be in, and that's the way they work best. But now we have a train that is ever growing, actually, because Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Andre Curzim have swapped round. Andre going back down the inside. He says, no, we haven't, Charles, just ignore that. Jonathan Andre has run wide, and now Jochen Hahn's going to take advantage. Andre Curzim gives Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, a hell of a shoulder barge on the exit. And now Heinrich Clemens Hecker wants a piece of this as well. And we've got 2 penalty marker warnings right now for Stefan Fast. Look at Andre Curzim, how sideways he was there. I think he was leaning on Jonathan Andre's truck, and that's what kept him in a straight line. That was terrifying, wasn't it? But again, just shows you how well these trucks can be controlled, because there's next to no weight over the rear end. They weigh 5.3 tons minimum as per the regulations, but 3.5 tons of that has to be weighed over the front axle. So they really do balance everything over the rear axle, over the front axle, and the rear just sort of swings around and holds on for the ride. That's why these drivers find it so difficult sometimes to put power down, because they've got all this power and all this torque that they need to throw through the rear wheels, and there's no weight to push it into the ground. So Norbert Kiss just crossed the line again. He's completed 8 laps now and begins the 9th lap of the race. Sascha Lenz holding on to second position with a good gap back to Stefan Faas. But Stefan Faas has got 2 warnings now. Andre Curzim's got one as well for turn 4, where he ran wide. And there's also 2 penalty markers for Jonathan Andre as well, who's now in 7th position. So we need to be careful with track limits here, because they still have a handful of laps left to go here at Misano in the second race of the season. You can see that wet line there around the outside, where all the water is just being pushed away from the apex of the corner. John Newell now under attack from fellow white and blue truck enthusiasts, Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete, Team Hahn Racing and T-Sport Benau, chasing down the NWT Motorsport machine of John Newell, that gorgeous blue metallic MAN. It looks like, though, Jochen Hahn got a great run out of turn 6. And he's already dispatched of John by the time they get to turn 8. Antonio Albacete is going to do the same as well. He goes down the inside. Skates a little bit wide. John needs to be careful of the standing water on the exit, and he's certainly kicking the back end out. Jonathan Andre is going to see now that John has no buffer in front of him, no one to sort of protect him from that position, or from any sort of overtaking manoeuvres that Jonathan Andre could make. But that cements Stefan Faas as the Promoters Cup leader, with a decent gap behind him as well. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez hasn't been able to move forward as much. Understandably, the contact with Andre Curzim might not have helped him too much, to say the least, out of turn 8. But he's got Heinrich Clemens Hecker just behind him. Mark Taylor has dropped off a little bit. He's about 11 seconds off Hecker. And then Louis Requenco, he's a good 12 seconds further back from that, actually, as well, looking at the timing there on the left. I was just waiting for the sector times to update. They will update shortly. Requenco just not quite got the wet setup that they would want here. Norby goes on to lap 10 out of 12 here. And he now has an ever-growing gap over Sascha Lenz. Sascha's gap now back is 10.3 seconds. Now, the one to watch here is Stefan Faas, because he's got Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete, the old boys, as Jochen called them at Le Mans last year, chasing him down at this point. But the thing is, if these two start fighting, or if they just have a little bit of a scrap, because these two guys absolutely love it, you know, they love doing what they do. They're out here enjoying themselves. When they get the chance to race each other, you know, they're two legends of the sport. They will just go at each other and have a great scrap on track. But if they do start fighting a bit too much, then it'll give Sasha Lenz even more leeway and a bigger gap, so he can break away from the guys behind, and it will hold on to third place. Here's the battle further down. Andre Curzim and Jonathan Andre side by side through turn 6. Jonathan's off the road, and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez wants to come through. Thank you very much, he says. Tucks in behind Andre Curzim. Now goes to the outside of the circuit. Is he going to go back across to the inside? No, maybe, no. Goes to the middle of the road as he gets on the brakes. Maybe just trying to keep the tyres nice and cool on the wet line. You don't want to overheat wet tyres, to be fair. They tend to run very similar tyres no matter what the conditions anyway. As John Newell, I think, has made a mistake there going up the hill, and yes, he has. Andre Curzim goes straight through. He covers the inside line from Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. It's not too much of a brash move or anything from John. He just gradually moves over to the right, makes his intentions very clear. And now he needs to get a decent run here and chase down Andre Curzim. But look at that, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez one way, then the other, trying to get around John Newell now as they go down the back straight. Can't make anything work just yet. Will he try anything on the brakes as they go through the triple right-hander here at the bottom of the hill? No, it doesn't look like it. He's not gone for it yet. There is Norbert Kish, though. On to lap 11. We've got another black and white flag going out. Now, who is that for? Is it going out for Sasha Lenz? I'm not sure it is. We'll see when the marshal withdraws on the right-hand side, and I'll wait and see if we get any communication as to who that is for. It's someone a bit further back in this. It might have been Jonathan Andre again, you know, because he was off the circuit, but I don't think that he gained anything in terms of an advantage. But still, Antonio Albertetti throwing everything that he can at Jochen. I can hear Tim Frost shouting in the background not to break the front end of the truck, please, Antonio. But you try telling a racing driver to slow down or take it easy. It's not something that comes naturally to them. I believe the black and white flag has come through for Louis Requenco, actually. I think he's had one for turn 5, which was the corner that we're just looking at here. This is turn 6, actually, the exit. But the right-hander is turn 5, and it's very easy to cut across the inside of that and hit the penalty marker. Now here's Stefan Faas with 1 lap to go after this one, trying to stay in front of Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albertetti. We've got 3 different manufacturers here. We've got the Scania ahead of the Iveco, ahead of the MAN. And Antonio will be waiting for Jochen to make a move here and hoping to capitalise on it. Just saw a great battle out my window with Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Jonathan Andre. Is just a pause for a moment there because Stefan Faas was running wide, kicking the back end out, but he's actually got a great launch back down the hill. Sounds like someone locking up a brake or just having a moment there. Maybe on the way into turn 8 or at the bottom of here, actually, at Curva del Carro. These 3 are glued together at this moment in time, having a great scrap. Jochen very close to the back of Stefan Scania, nearly pushing him round there, to be honest with you. We're now going to be on to the final lap of the race here as Norbert Kish has crossed the line. And then across the line also goes Sasha Lenz. And oh, no, it's not gone wrong at all. It's not gone right at all, I should say, for Stefan Faas. He's lost the position to Jochen Hahn, who's obviously put it down the inside. And Antonio Albertetti, like I say, wanted to take advantage of it when Jochen went through. He's going to try and tuck it to the inside line as best he can. There's a little bit of contact between the two. Antonio's pushed to the inside line of turn 2, and now he wants to get on with it, stamp on the power and go chasing after Jochen. I said that's how it was going to go. One goes through, they both go through. And unfortunately, Stefan Faas not able to hold them off. But nobody's able to hold this man off. I tell you what, Norbert Kish in this Reveche Racing MAN, he seems very unstoppable, doesn't he? Got a great second race here. Starting from second to last on the grid, starting from 11th on the grid, all the way up into second place, I believe it was, by lap 5. And since then, He has overtaken Sasha Lenz and disappeared up the road. The top 3 in this race at the moment are the top 3 finishers from last year's championship, as signified by their truck numbers. Jochen Hahn finishing second in the championship after a nightmare final race meeting for Sasha Lenz. Really determined it, but Antonio Albertetti's actually got alongside Jochen here. I didn't think he'd actually got an overlap for a moment there. I thought it looked like he got a good run, but not that good, as Jochen tries to take a wider line through turn 10 to really tuck it in on the apex, and Antonio's gone out wide. I think he's just kissed the gravel. Hopefully he's not lost enough time that Sasha Lenz will be... Sorry, not Sasha Lenz. Stefan Faas will be able to make it through. But look at this. Norbert is 17 seconds ahead of Sasha Lenz. It's an absolute walkover or a swim over in these current conditions. He's going to come round the final corner now in the Reverse Racing MAN. Expect more drifting, everybody, because Norby's also very good at it, just like Jochen is. And across the line in Baloo for Reverse Racing to take the victory in the second race of the season in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship is Norbert Kish. What an amazing drive that is. That's definitely the way to come back from a retirement in round 1. And this is a way to bounce back from a poor qualifying. Sasha Lenz for Apollo Tyres SL Truck Sport gets second position and some solid championship points. And here's the battle to the line. Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albertetti come into shot side by side. Antonio ends up off the road, and it's going to be Jochen across the line, about a truck length ahead of Antonio. But in the Promoters' Cup, Stefan Faas takes the victory. Very well done to Stefan, finishing 5th. Andre Kurzim finishes in 6th position, with John Newell finishing 7th. He's 2nd in the Promoters' Cup. And then Jose Eduardo Rodriguez finishing in 8th place now, with 3rd in the Promoters' Cup. But what a fantastic, fantastic drive that was by Norbert Kish. Truck 1, P1, Sasha Lenz next up, and then Jochen Hahn. The 3 of them on the podium so many times last season and the year before, and many years before that as well. That's going to be Jochen Hahn's 276th podium. That's Norby's 80th win in the championship, and 170th podium from a good 346 starts now for Norby. The experience definitely showing, and the way this team has sorted this truck out is just unbelievable. It really is such a high performance machine, even in comparison to a number of trucks we see on the grid. It just seems to click no matter what the conditions are for Norby. He and this truck are just so well set up together. Stefan Faas will be over the moon with winning in the Promoters' Cup. He gets a 5th place outright finish, and of course some more silverware to take with him. There's quite a bit of drifting going on out there on the circuit right now. I can tell you, I can see them out of the window down at turn 8. A lot of them lighting up the rear tyres and kicking it out sideways. It's a lot easier to do that in the wet, as you can imagine. So these guys love to take advantage of any greasy conditions that we have and just do a bit of drifting, a bit of showing off, because the control, the level of control they have over these machines is just fantastic. Louis Requenco has come into the pit lane, I think, before the race is actually technically finished. There's Heinrich Clementecker. He's now coming around the final couple of corners. Not quite sure what happened to Clementecker, but he seems to be a long way down. I'm not sure whether he went off and ended up in the gravel or something, but he's still got to complete the race, and I don't think the checkered flag is out because he's that far behind. Oh no, the checkered flag is out. My apologies. I didn't see him in the usual marshal post, which is a little bit higher. I think that's just used for the start of the race. But yes, there you go. Heinrich Clementecker completes the field. And another very busy race for everybody. A lot to think about there, but a great drive all the same by Norbert Kish. That's really going to be the talking point of that one. Sasha Lenz as well. Some big points for them. It may only be 9 points, but still, in terms of the relative scores of everybody else in that race, it is a big score and an important one this early on in the campaign. Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albertetti, once again, very entertaining between these guys. But there is a sight that we are very used to in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship over the last couple of years. Norbert Kish, race winner, no matter what the weather, no matter what has gone on before. And Baloo has one hell of a loud horn on it, I can tell you that. Antonio Albertetti will be told to make his way down into the little alignment here that we've got for the top 3. Sorry, Sasha Lenz. I keep getting the names mixed up today. I'm really sorry. there is Sasha, and that's going to be a very welcome result, that is. I'm going to look down actually into the paddock and see, and yeah, the team are very, very happy about that. Clapping away, giving big congratulations. There's a number of trucks actually being told to make their way into the paddock behind where the drivers and the teams are all celebrating here. Andre Kurzim's having to make one hell of a tight turn, as you see, but there is Norbert Kish, and that's exactly what they needed to bounce back with. Very, very well done to Revesh Racing. We don't see them in their usual red overalls or the red outfits that they're in, the fantastic teamwear they've got now in the more subtle black jackets. But this is the great part of it with Revesh Racing. You know, Norby and the team also well connected. They are one well-oiled machine. But you can see there, look, Andre Kurzim trying to make his way back out. Big thumbs up from Norby. And a great job by all. And there was Sasha Lenz as well, celebrating with the team, celebrating with Jane there in the background as well, who we spoke to earlier. And Norbert, big smiles, big, big smiles. That's exactly what they want. A great race victory. And an important one as well after a very difficult start to the day. Whatever the problem was, they certainly sorted it out. And it's a bit of a silver lining for them, like I say, because you don't get as many points for the second race of the day. But still, I'm sure that no matter what the points, Norby will take that. And there is Sasha Lenz with his partner. And there's John Newell as well. John shaking his head almost as if to say, fantastic race, mate. Jochen Hahn in there as well, saying well done to the guys. And John was saying something there about how quick he is off the line or something. Or going in a straight line, I don't know. I think, to be fair, it seemed like a very positive discussion there over the fact that, you know, John had to really try to defend him in a bit. And saying, no, it's good, you carry on. And what we're going to do is hand down to Alice, who you can see there in the background, ready for an interview with race winner Norbert Kish.
Okay. The overall race winner Norbert Kish, who is just talking to second place Sasha. Norby, after this morning, what a great way to come back and win the race. How was that for you?
Yeah, you know, I mean, in the rain conditions already in the morning in the free practice, we were quite strong, I think. And now again in this race, we could show, you know, how good we can do in the rain. You know, the racetrack was just awesome, you know. Find so much grip, you know, compared to the others. I see that everybody was struggling on the braking and on the exit as well, you know, with traction. And, you know, everybody was going sideways and everything. And you know, I was trying to find some grip on the circuit, you know, which is very important. That which line, what kind of a line you take, and then you know, try to be, you know, like as smooth as possible, you know, to stay inside the grip, and you know, have very good exit. Already be in position for an overtake, and so you know, so that I don't have to, you know, like outbrake people, but I am already there on the exit, you know, so. That's what I try to do, and it worked really well, you know. So I am really happy. I am really thankful for Revesh Racing because it was, yeah, it was a good race. Yeah, you know, I mean, we had a little bit of an issue earlier today, you know, and leading the race. You know, these things happen, but yeah, we come back strong. So yeah, I am really happy.
Obviously, coming from the very back of the grid to win the race here today, is this pace you're going to take through tomorrow for the other two races?
Well, we'll see. You know, I think tomorrow will be dry, or that's what the forecast is. And for sure, in the dry conditions, it's much tighter, and the field is much more together. And you know, I think what we have to work on is our dry setup, actually. And then, yeah, you know, I hope to be fast tomorrow as well if it's dry. I think if it's gonna be wet, then you know, I think we can be quite confident, you know, after our performance today. But yeah, I hope to win some races tomorrow as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you very much, Norby. Yes, a brilliant, brilliant race. And, well, if Norby needs to work on the dry setup, flipping heck, everybody's in for trouble, aren't they? Wow. It was incredible, incredible pace by him all throughout that one. He wins the race eventually by literally just over 18 seconds from Sascha Lenz. But Sascha and the team will be really happy as well in their own right because of the issues that they had earlier on in qualifying today. Jochen Hahn finishing in third position, another podium for him. Antonio Albertetti finishing with his sparring partner there in fourth. And then Stefan Faas taking the win in the Promoters' Cup. Andre Kurzim holds on to sixth place, another strong race for him. John Newell second in the Promoters' Cup. And Jose Eduardo Rodriguez finishing third in the Promoters' Cup, seventh and eighth overall. Jonathan Andre ninth, and Mark Taylor rounds out the top 10 in his first weekend in the championship. Louis Requenco was 11th, and then Heinrich Clemens Hecker was 12th. And now we're going to move on to the podium, I believe, as the drivers now are starting to make their way up. Jochen Hahn has made his way to the third step of the podium. Sascha Lenz next up. And clearly having a good laugh here this weekend, as they always do. Sascha and Jochen are always full of mischief, these two, honestly. It was a fantastic moment in one of the podiums last year where they soaked some of the grid girls. It was very funny. But there is, once again, your race winner, Norbert Kish. Another win to his incredible tally and a great demonstration of the pace here this weekend. And that wet setup really does work for them. And he said that it felt strong during the practice sessions, and now even better. I can see the Team Hahn Racing squad all down there, down by the podium from out my window, all clapping for Jochen. And Sascha Lenz gets another bit of silverware, the first this season for Apollo Tyres SL Truck Sport. And once again, the first for Norbert Kish as well. His first win of the season, and I'm sure one of many. But what a great atmosphere, though, wouldn't you agree? The amazing atmosphere we have here in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. And there you go, the Hungarian national anthem for Norbert Kish. And our overall podium, first, second and third. And they will now have their photos taken with the Goodyear caps that they get given for finishing in their necessary positions. Or on the podium positions, I should say. And now they're going to change the caps, as is often the tradition here in the championship. They'll be very, very happy with that. No spraying of the champagne, of course, this weekend, as a mark of the respect to those affected by the flooding here in northeastern Italy. They'll be posing for many pictures and really taking in the moment. The first time this season that he's won a race, and like I said before, the first of many. And there's Richard Keimberger, the awesome photographer. Norby's fans up there on the roof as well, loving it, really loving it. There's Angelo, the commentator, on the right-hand side. Whoa, I felt like I was falling off my chair then. But now the drivers from the Promoters' Cup will make their way up onto the podium. But this is how the overall Drivers' Championship looks after race 2. Jochen Hahn on 28 points, 6 points clear of Antonio Albertetti. Sascha Lenz in third place, Andre Kurzim in fourth, and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez in 13 points in fifth. Norbert Kish up there into seventh place on 10 points. John Newell on 7. Jonathan Andre and Heinrich Clemens Hecker round out the 10-point scorers at the moment. Behind them, with 1 point apiece, we have Louis Requenco and Mark Taylor in 11th and 12th, both picking up points in their first weekend this season. And here is your Promoters' Cup podium. And your winner in the Promoters' Cup, Stefan Faas, starting his Promoters' Cup season off very, very well. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez third. John Newell in second place, picking up his first silverware. of the season. And the trophies will now get handed out to the guys. A big round of applause to all of them. Jonathan Andre not appearing on this podium, but hopefully will be for many to come, because he had a great race there, a very strong performance. John Newell gets his second place trophy. And then for the first time this season, a Promoters Cup winner, Stefan Faas. He's a very popular driver in the championship, and that's going to go down really well with so many people down there. They really do love Stefan. And there you go then, the German national anthem for Stefan Faas. And now the guys will pose for pictures with their trophies, with their Goodyear caps on. And big smiles for all three of them up there on the podium. Richard there in the pink vest on the right-hand side. And now they make their way off the podium to go and celebrate and, of course, enjoy the evening with their teams. And still a lot of work to do, though, for the rest of the weekend. There are qualifying sessions and racing coming up tomorrow as well. There is your Promoters Cup standings, by the way. 28 points for Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. 3 points clear of Stefan Faas at this moment in time. And we have two drivers on 19 points each. John Newell and Jonathan Andre. Then Heinrich Clemens Hecker on 12 points. Only 1 point clear of Louis Requenco and Mark Taylor on 6. So it's certainly a tight contest already at this moment in time, early on in the season. But as you can see, the light is fading fast here at Misano, and the celebrations for some of the teams will begin tonight. A lot of hard work, though, for some of the teams to get the trucks race ready for tomorrow after a big spate of issues for some of them. So hopefully we'll get the full grid back on track for tomorrow. Qualifying 2 taking on in the morning. But we're going to have a quick look back now at how that race unfolded with some of the highlight shots of the day. So with the wet conditions getting worse and worse, and rain filling the grid walk that I did, and of course filling the early moments of the race, it was certainly going to be one that the drivers and the teams had to be very careful for. We had, of course, a yellow flag start earlier on in the day. This time we had to be even more careful this time round, and we did get going under yellow flag conditions for just the one lap this time. And then we got cracking and green flag racing was underway. Still treacherous, though, as drivers were off the road in all sorts of places. And, of course, the Titan drivers, the non-Promoters Cup drivers, trying to make their way through the field and not take anybody else off. It's very difficult in these wet conditions not to make contact with one another, but the fans were out in force and enjoying themselves. Jonathan Andre and John Newell becoming very good friends here down at turn 8, while Stefan Faas snuck through and then took the lead in the Promoters Cup. He would then go on, of course, to win the Promoters Cup in this race. But there was an awesome streak of trucks in the middle of the pack, always battling and always going at one another and trying to make moves. But Norbert Kish was the unstoppable force, trying to get past as many immovable objects as possible. He certainly proved that they weren't, but Sasha Lenz was going well at the front of the field. It just took one decent run out of turn 8 for Norbert Kish to get by. A scary moment for Andre Kurzim here out of the final corner, leaning on Jonathan Andre, and then losing a place to Jose Eduardo Rodriguez meant that Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albertetti could go forward and chase down Stefan Faas. They eventually dispatched of him, but all the while Norbert Kish built up his lead. Right near the end of the race, we had a great battle between Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albertetti, his old sparring partner, but it was Norbert Kish once again taking the win, Sasha Lenz in second position, and Jochen Hahn in third. And we're going to hand straight back down to Alice, who's going to have an interview for us.
Here with Promoters Cup winner Stefan Faas.
Very nice.
it got.
Feeling.
Apologies, everybody. It seems like the microphone has either died or is just having a signal issue at the moment. But we will hopefully try and get that sorted for whatever opportunities we can for next ones. But yeah, apologies, everyone. But we'll get that sorted. Apologies for that. This is the minefield of audio. Unfortunately, it's very, very difficult sometimes to get audio to play ball, as we all know. But we have, of course, qualifying 2 and 2 more races coming up tomorrow. So that is not the end of the action here at Misano. 10:50 tomorrow morning, we will have qualifying 2. Then as we head into the afternoon, we will have race 3 at 1:25. And later on in the afternoon as well, we will have race 4 coming your way. It's certainly going to be another very exciting day of racing. The conditions promise to be a little bit better, but we will have to wait and see until we get there. But that is all from me here this afternoon here in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. And we're going to have a look back, and then we're going to just see some pictures for you, and then we will wave goodbye. So thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you again very, very soon.